What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Beyond the Backboard Podcast. This is just episode 75. My name is Omar. You guys know the rest, Earl and Max, my beautiful co-hosts. And just to start off, I just want to see how everybody's doing this week. Just want to see if our goals have been met. Just want to see if are we feeling jubilated? Are we not feeling jubilated? Are we feeling depressed? Are we feeling happy? How are we feeling? How are we feeling?
What do you want me to answer first?
No, just
playing.
I feel a lot better after that.
Honestly, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm excited for this week's episode. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on in the basketball world. Had some fun games last night, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, it's going good, man. I'm excited. Obviously, doing this podcast is my favorite part of the week. So
yeah, we've missed you. We missed you since last week. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I don't know if I met all of my 2K goals, all my corner shooting goals. So maybe that's something to work on for next week.
That is,
but other than that, I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's been a good week overall. I'm graduating this year finally after like 5 years in school. So as you could tell, I probably got a haircut and a nice little beard trim. So I took my photos already.
Oh, you got the photos done?
Yeah, I'm on my way out. It's over. Now I got to find a job.
Are we inviting all of Playoff LAL to the graduation? All 10,054 members?
No. You know what? Yeah. We're inviting every single person. Meet us at the Prudential Center, outside the Prudential Center in New Jersey if you're from there. And we'll see you there.
You can get some.
I swear to God, if somebody comes to me in person, you're like, "Oh my God, is that Omar from the Beyond the Backboard?" I'm going to lose my mind. It'll be so funny. But other than that, I think we can start off. Okay, I have to say this, Max. So me and Max, Earl was unavailable that day. He had some he had stuff going on.
Yeah.
So me and Max went to record our 2-minute drill episode. You know, we finished. We felt like we did a really good job on it. And then it wasn't saved. And it was completely my fault. So I just want to apologize to everybody for not getting that 2-minute drill up. We appreciate nobody unsubscribing to the podcast because of that. But
that would be cool if someone unsubscribed because we didn't post a 2-minute drill 1 week.
I know, right? Cool. It's like they missed the weekly pod. How can they just...
We got the pod out. We just didn't get the 2MD.
Yeah.
2MD will be back this week.
But we're gonna get back on it this week. Again, we apologize. There was a 2-minute drill segment supposed to come out. We didn't, unfortunately, circumstances happened. So
what, Omar?
I don't know. Never mind. Unprecedented circumstances happened. There we go. I got it. I got it.
We're going in a whole different direction. I'm not gonna lie, but we ball.
You know what? Halfway there. I feel you, Earl. I feel you. But this 2-minute drill segment was actually about the news on the weekend that Wemby did unfortunately have a blood clot in his I believe it's his right shoulder. Kind of serious news. People are starting to feel like it's a little more on the serious side, and hopefully we'll get to see him back and healthy next season. They're already taking him out for the next season and a half at least. That's what it seems like. But I really hope it doesn't come to that. I really, really hope it doesn't come to that, though.
I feel like I heard that he could be back for the start of next season, though, no?
If that's the case, even better.
Yeah, that's what the reports are saying, that he should be back by the beginning of next season, like Max said, yeah.
I always forget to kind of like integrate how much rehabilitation they're actually doing compared to somebody else that has the injury but is not like an athlete. So I feel like in some regard you have more ramped up training processes to overall expedite your recovery. Yeah. So when I look up these injuries and then I see the time of heal and it's like a year and a half, I'm thinking, oh shoot, Wemby's going to be out for at least a year and a half, yada yada yada. So that's why my mind went to like at least a season and a half. So
yeah, it's different when you got the best doctors in the world, some of the best doctors and trainers and medical staff in the world working overtime to get you back on the basketball court. So hopefully, obviously, we're wishing the best for Wemby. You know, it's a tough thing for anyone to deal with, but especially someone, you know, this young into a very, very promising NBA career. A lot of pressure on his shoulders. Obviously, no pun intended there. But going forward, we all want to see him back on the court. We all want to see him healthy. So we're sending our best to Mr. Wembanyama. Hopefully, he can beat this, come back healthy, better than ever, because everyone wants to see him on the basketball court. But first and foremost, we all want to just see him be healthy and live a healthy life.
Yeah.
There was a lot of go for it.
I'm my fault. I was just gonna say, like, Wemby, like, I do feel bad for him because, like, at the base level of Wemby, there's like a super competitor. I mean, you even seen it in the All-Star game. He was one of the only people who was actually mad about losing. Like, he wants to win. Anything he does in these games, whether it's like, you know, the little events, whether it's All-Star weekend in general, he wants to win. Yeah, skills challenge as well. Like, he wants to win. Like, even in basketball, he's a competitor. So I know it's probably a little bit tough for him to like get that news, but the good thing is the doctor's able to catch it early and potentially prevent like a career-ending injury, I'll say, by catching something big like this early in his career. So, like Max said, like Omar said, like, we got the best doctors in the world in the basketball community, so I'm sure he's going to be well taken care of. And I seen this like funny video not funny video. It was basically like Katie giving him advice. He was like, "Hey man, like, just slow down your recovery, go get some new Lego kits, build those up, and then when it's time to play basketball, the game will be there for you." So basically, he was just telling him, "Hey, just focus on your recovery, do your thing, don't stress too much, and lock back in when it's time to lock back in." So I think Wemby's gonna be fine. He has a good community around him. Spurs is a great organization, and he has some NBA vets looking out for him too.
Who said that? You said KD?
Yeah, KD.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you said KD or Cade, like Cade Cunningham.
Oh no, my fault. KD, my bad.
KD. Yeah, I'll bet Wemby get him a new chess set. I know he's a big chess guy, so he's got some time to grind chess.com, hopefully.
Yeah,
facts.
Yeah, speaking of grinds, I've actually been on that hoops grid grind. I haven't stopped. I'm trying to get on the leaderboards. That's me though.
Look at it. Have you made a leaderboards yet?
Yes, I did. I made top 10 on one of them.
Nice. Any ChatGPT use or no?
No. I've been doing it straight dome.
Off the dome? That's
some. You know what? I will admit, sometimes I do have to go to Basketball Reference or one of those websites just to make sure that certain. Hold on, let me explain. Just to make sure that certain players are like, let's say, played with 5+ teams, or with like one of those like really really tiny like cheating stats that nobody really pays attention to.
Yes, it's cheating.
Yeah, so cheating. Yeah, it's cheating.
All right, fine, no problem. No problem.
When you do it with when you make a leaderboard with no Basketball Reference, no ChatGPT, just straight up one tab, only Hoops Grid open.
I guarantee you, people on the top boards don't. Some people on the top boards.
I'm sure. No, I agree. I'm sure. I'm sure there's also plenty of top. I'm sure the top boards are always cheaters.
Ball knowledge. I'm not gonna lie. If you're going on ChatGPT,
ChatGPT actually most of the time
ball knowledge that you don't know to flex on ball knowledge you didn't know.
Yeah, ChatGPT is really actually not that good. ChatGPT gives you like wrong answers.
GPT, Google, Bing, whatever you want to use, it's cheating nowadays.
What year is this Bing?
Hey, people talk.
What are you gonna say next? Yahoo. Bing user. Appreciate you, Lakers Zone.
Does anybody actually use Yahoo?
I feel like more people use Yahoo than Bing.
I don't know.
Earl,
go ahead.
Did you have an AOL account back in your day? Are you old enough to have an AOL account?
No, I did not have an AOL account.
Okay.
MySpace. What is the other apps called? Like, I was around before internet was made, so we ball. Bro, you guys remember? Did y'all have MP3 players and stuff, right?
No.
Yes, we had MP3 players.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
I think the earliest thing that we got was the BlackBerry.
I was here before all that.
I was before the BlackBerry. Don't get me wrong, but I remember that was the first.
Surely you guys have had a house phone before, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I believe I had a house phone.
Yeah. I had a house phone up until 2018.
Okay, just making sure. I know I'm not that old.
No, I grew up with a house phone. I grew up making.
Yeah, same here. I grew up with a house phone.
Once I got a cell phone in high school, I started moving away from the house phone.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's how it was. But I grew up with no cell phones to having a cell phone to going to smartphones. Like, it was crazy. I've been a part of crazy progression, like gaming, like Sega, Genesis, all this. Crazy bar. It's time for old school stories.
And now you've come so far. Now you have two phones, Earl. You got a business, you got a sleeper business phone, and you got a main one.
Yep, that's right. You live through these different eras, and not to sound like an old head, you learn to appreciate different things.
Earl, you're old heads. If old heads were, you're a good old head. I respect it. You're a respectable old head. You hold it down. You're the example that other old heads should take after.
I appreciate that. I try my best to look out for the community.
I think the community can give the term old head a negative connotation, but I think if there were more people like you, we would appreciate the old heads more.
Appreciate that. Y'all talking like I'm 40 years old, by the way, which I'm not, chat.
He's only 39.
Okay. All right.
Birthday coming up.
All right. Too federal. What's the next topic we got on hand?
Yeah, Max, what is the next topic that we got on hand today?
Next topic we got on hand today, surprisingly, does not have to do with blackberries or
no.
Has to do with Joel Embiid. Unfortunately, it is another injury topic. Right now, it says Embiid. Well, I say right now, Embiid has not been looking good. He has been playing more the last couple weeks, but he's not really looked like himself, and certainly the last couple games, he's really looked like he's struggling to move. He's not been very mobile on the court. He's just not. He doesn't look like a player who is healthy and confident to move around in his body. And I know now that I believe he is having conversations with the team doctors, or the team doctors. Obviously, the 76ers doctors are having conversations amongst themselves about how to treat him going forward. Because at the start of the season, they were optimistic that his kind of lingering knee and lower extremities, and maybe even that those kind of issues would eventually get better throughout the season, that he could play on them and continue to ramp up towards the playoffs. But it seems like at the very least he stayed the same, if not getting worse as the season progresses. So the potential for him to have surgery or some sort of major operation in the offseason looks very real. And after that point, who knows what Embiid would be like coming back from another major operation. Because remember, he had so many surgeries at the start of his career. Yeah. And then obviously, he came back, he ascended to the MVP that we know him as now. But having to go through another bout of serious, operations could be extremely detrimental to his career. So what are you guys thinking about the way he's been playing lately and what we might see from him going forward, especially if he does wind up having to get surgery, I believe, on, his knee or his foot this offseason?
So this is going to seem a bit extreme. I've seen this in some areas of the internet. I'm not saying everybody has seen these, obviously, but in some corners of the internet, it seems like Philly fans either want to trade him or just get some commitment out of him. So maybe it's a bit extreme, but I could definitely see a world where Philly trades Embiid to try to preserve some of their young core, right? And I also see a route to where if let's say they go right ahead and dismantle everything. Let's say Joel Embiid has his surgery, they sit their superstars a little bit, and let's say they tank a little bit. Let's say that, right? Their pick, if it falls within the top 10 this upcoming year, I believe it goes to Charlotte. Somebody fact check me on that aspect of it. I believe it goes to Charlotte, but regardless, it goes to another team. So they're in an unfortunate situation. And damn, I really thought I had a point coming into this, but I guess to end this off is to say that I think Philadelphia should explore options to actually trading Embiid rather than trying to search options on how to heal him.
I'll just say this. I'm kind of like the complete almost opposite. I think first of all, in order to trade Embiid, you have to make sure his health is at like a good standing point. Mm-hmm. I think Philly in the past has had trouble managing. Yeah. I feel like Philly in general has had trouble managing injuries. I mean, Markelle Fultz had a bad injury. Ben Simmons had a bad injury. Now Joel Embiid. I think it's more so about them taking shortcuts. Like with Joel Embiid, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, did he have to get some type of procedure going into this season, or did he decide not to do that?
I don't believe so. I mean, he played in the Olympics, so certainly if he did get any sort of procedure, I would have to imagine it was very minor, and it either took place. I would assume it took place probably after the Olympics, but I don't remember him actually getting anything. I just remember him playing, obviously, for Team USA and winning that gold. So
for me, I think it has to be health. Like if you're looking at the timeline, this season's pretty much cooked. It's pretty much cooked. Mm-hmm. At this point, like they said, they're reviewing their options. It has to be surgery, bro. He has to get surgery. He's going to end his season. He's going to have to recover the whole summer. I think that's the best option for Joel Embiid. That's the best option for the Sixers. Because option one, I mean, even if you do play, he goes to another playoff run. He may be injured or not 100% again and not able to produce on the court again, and risk further injury again. So why risk that when you can just say, okay, the season's pretty much done. Paul George didn't play great. Max is the only one who played. Our rookie, who was supposed to be rookie of the year, he got hurt as well. The season's it's pretty much done. So I would do that. I mean, they signed other guys to kind of fill in those roles. I'm not saying they're great, obviously. You got who's their center? Andre Drummond and whoever else. You got Lonnie Walker to pick up production for Paul George when he's injured and stuff like that, like just to get through the season. I think their best bet is to get the surgery, bro. Like I'd rather them do this now than wait till the off season. Then he gets it. Like, who was it? What player was it? It was actually Jared Vanderbilt. Shout out to Vando. The Lakers waited all the way up till like almost the start of the season. It's like, Vando has to get another surgery. Like here, like I would hate for him to have to go through that type of situation. Especially because Joel Embiid is way better of an impact player than Jared Vanderbilt. That's just a fact. And losing him for another season at the start will be unfortunate for them. So he has to get surgery, man. That's the best thing I can say. Like, get it done now. I mean, if you're gonna look at all these different options, you've already looked at the other options, obviously, to start this season, and it hasn't worked. So you have to rip the Band-Aid off. I know nobody wants to have that conversation, but you just have to have surgery.
But they also have to have, like, I understand everything you're saying, and to some degree, I agree with you. But I also have to look at the Sixers' perspective for the purpose of at least staying in the play-in, or being good enough to stay in the play-in, because you at least want to keep that pick coming into this year.
Yes, and real quick, I'm just going to jump in here, Omar. I did fact check it. That pick they traded to the Thunder many years ago, but it is top 6 protected. So the only way Philadelphia keeps that pick is if they end up top 6 in the lottery. So if they make the play-in, that pick will convey to OKC. The only way they keep, more than
so if they do bad, then they get the pick below.
So bad. I might have said that wrong.
The worse they do, the better their odds are at keeping it. But again, they could. How is
that possible? If the odds are considered going up for individual teams, though, right?
I mean, listen, they could theoretically make the play-in and pull in Atlanta Hawks and then jump to the number 1 overall pick, in which case they would keep it. But
that's what I'm saying. Yes. Okay. So that's
the better they do, the less.
But then in some aspect, they at least want to stay competitive, so they can at least convey that pick to have it below the 6.
Well, having it be bottom 6, you would want to lose more games. That would.
Yeah. If it goes
because
it's top 6 protected means 6. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is protected for the 76ers.
Yeah, of course. But you have to effectively do worse to be up there. Am I wrong?
Yes, but
okay then. So wouldn't you kind of want to stay in the middle of that to avoid being through that 1 through 6?
You want to be 1 through 6 if you're Philly. That means you keep the pick.
How do you keep the pick if it conveys to OKC?
It only conveys to OKC if it doesn't land in the top 6, Omar.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vice versa. I was thinking it the other way around. My bad. I completely misunderstood what you were saying.
The worse that they do this season, the better odds they have of
landing. So they want to. Okay, my bad. So they keep the pick if it's top 6. They lose the pick if it falls. Okay, my bad. I completely mixed up the order there. I'm sorry, everybody. I completely mixed that up
on this show.
that's why we have clips, but so but
do the surgery now. I'm doing the surgery right now. Then
I'm doing the surgery now. Then yes, because you can at least fall in that top 6 if that's the case.
And just
not to make this too Knicks centric, but I do remember last year when Julius Randle had his injury and he was trying to come back and make the playoffs for the Knicks. There was a couple months there where they tried to avoid surgery and we're trying to just have him rehab it.
He was trying to avoid surgery. He was
trying to avoid surgery, but it got to a point where if he didn't have surgery in mid-April, he was going to risk missing the start of next season when he did eventually have it. So it could be a similar situation for Embiid where they might just say, listen, he could try and come back and make the playoffs for us this year, but if he waits till the summer to have this operation, he's not going to make the start of next season. So at what point do you just pull the plug and say you're getting the surgery now, and then we're gonna make sure you're back in the fall, and essentially that would be throwing in the towel on this season. But at some point, you kind of have to realize that this might be a lost cause and just say, we're going for next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like you said, like no player wants to make that season-ending surgery decision if there's another option. But the thing about Joel Embiid is, like, we've seen the ceiling of a hurt Joel Embiid. Like, it gets bad. Like, we even seen last year, he was in the playoff and his knee was bleeding through his thing. Like, nobody wants to see that. It's not healthy. So, for me, if I'm the 76ers, I think that they just have to do the surgery, rest them for the season. It gives them, because what people don't realize, it gives you such a head start on your recovery process because it's going to take time. There's going to be like weeks, months before you can even go up and do basketball activities, let alone run and jog and stuff like that. Like you have to ramp up to different stuff like that. So Joel Embiid, I think you just have to, you got to do it now, man. Like pick a side, assets aside, like for Joel Embiid, the person, like to sustain your career, you just gotta do this now, bro. Or you're gonna be play 2 games out 5 games. Like I don't think he wants to continue doing that in his career.
I don't think so. It's not good for him either, and I also don't think he wants to skip back-to-back days. Like think about it. Like it's like what Zion said in that one interview. If I can play back-to-back games, I would. But I work for this organization, and they're telling me this is the best for me, or this is what it is. And I feel like some of that isn't true, but I'm not getting into that. But the point being is injuries take time. Joel Embiid should have never rushed through any of his injuries. And I feel like whenever we talk about a Joel Embiid injury, we talk about the possibility of him rushing to come back. And I also feel like that has a lot to do with the pressure around him. I feel like people are expecting him to win a championship by now. You're an MVP level player. Why aren't you winning a championship? All the bickering in his ear that he's hearing, and all the shit talk that he hears from his. I'm sorry if I'm cursing, but all the poop talk that I'm hearing from the fans and all the Philly fans. Don't even get me started on Philly fans, bro. Don't even get me started. Remember when the Eagles won a couple years ago and then they won this year? The riots in the streets, absolutely insane. I heard like multiple like old women died because of just people rioting. But besides the point, there's a lot of pressure in Philadelphia. And I feel like Joel Embiid has kind of like served his time, if that makes sense.
I think this leads into an interesting conversation to be had about players playing in the Olympics, because I'll be honest, I very much feel for the front office in this case, because listen, like Omar said, we've known about this Joel Embiid's health problems even going into last year. In the playoff series against the Knicks, he did not look right, but Embiid still made the decision to, instead of taking the whole summer off to rehabbing, he went and played in the Olympics. And listen, for him, it worked out. He won. He helped USA win gold. He was a big part of that team. One of the true big men. It worked out for him. But if you're the Philadelphia 76ers and you don't really care whether the United States win gold or not, you have to be looking at this situation saying, why are we the ones taking all the risk? Why are we the ones who are now liable for Joel Embiid's injury status when he made the decision to go play in the Olympics, and that certainly did not help his knee. I don't know if it made it a hell of a lot worse, but it certainly did not help. So at what point should these organizations step in with injury-prone players and say, we are forbidding you from playing in the Olympics? Or if you do want to go play in the Olympics and you come back and you're injured, we're deducting that from your salary. Any games you miss, we're not paying you for that. Because why should we have to take on all the risk of, you get to go have fun, play in France, be with LeBron and Curry, but then you come back and now you're hurting the rest of our team. Why should we be financially on the hook for that? So what do you guys think? How much sympathy do you have for the front office here?
Honestly,
they should have did what the Clippers did with Kawhi. They made his ass come home.
They did, yeah.
They made his ass come home.
Honestly, I think
not playing, and he didn't.
It's more of a person-to-person basis. Like, that argument is good, but it depends on how you're feeling as a player. Like, even like I'll bring up AD and LeBron. Like, AD, we know how Anthony Davis is with injuries. It's just about knowing where your body is at the start of the summer. It's not a real nickname, but knowing where your body is at the beginning of the summer, going into like a hard training camp, playing pretty much, and travel at that too. People don't account for travel as well. Yeah. Like, it's a lot. And I think it just depends on the person. Like LeBron James and AD, they kind of went into the year knowing that they were going to go play the Olympics. I mean, Jason Tatum, obviously he's a little bit younger, just came off of winning the championship and went straight to the plane after that and went to the Olympics. Same with Derek White and all those guys. So I definitely think it depends on your level of just fitness going into it. You have to make those decisions about your body. I agree. Like, obviously, you have to have conversations with the organization. Like, hey, this is where we are. How are you feeling with your body? If you have a history of injuries or you're dealing with an injury at the end of a season as well, I think those things kind of come into account. And you see the Kawhi thing. Like, they had a conversation. He went and felt it out and seen how he was feeling throughout the training camp. And things just weren't 100%. So him and his camp, they pulled out. And I think that's fair to do. Like, you have to make those decisions. Obviously, player first, and then like putting the team in account as well. I think that's definitely another condition. But you got to understand, too, a lot of these teams, they understand the importance of USA basketball. They're not going to be like, hey, you're not playing, blah, blah, blah. They're going to make sure you're okay to play. And obviously, if it's a huge risk to your health and like the organization in general, then they'll step in, kind of like the Kawhi situation. But normally, it's kind of on the player like, hey, if you're not feeling this, then don't go. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
I
completely agree.
You agree with that, Omar?
100%.
I think it is tricky, like you said, Earl. Obviously, it depends on the player. I have no problem with, players, younger guys like Tatum or even guys like LeBron and AD who are currently healthy going to play. But if you look at the way that the Philadelphia 76ers and the Los Angeles Clippers handled their superstars who were currently dealing with injuries, I think it's fair to say both Kawhi and Joel Embiid were actively dealing with lower extremity injuries. That's this past summer. The way that those two teams handled it, whereas one stepped in and enforced their authority and said, Kawhi, you're in it, like Omar said about Zion, you're an employee of this organization. We're not comfortable with you doing this. You need to take the summer off and come back because your priority is still with the Clippers. And nobody liked it at the time. I'm sure we all wanted Kawhi to play USA ball this summer, but he took the summer off. He's back now. I think he's played pretty much all the games since he's kind of come back. And obviously he's not 100% yet, but he looks pretty good. Like, he looks, he's on the court, he's playing, he seems to be returning to Kawhi level. And then you look at Embiid, who has been on-off all season, is now facing a massive surgery. Like Omar said, now there could be pressure on the organization to find a trade option for him. I don't think you could tell me that the 76ers don't regret letting him play in the Olympics this offseason. Like, I do think it's fair to say that if a player is actively dealing with injuries and the team has medical evidence to back that up, I would not have a problem with teams writing it into contracts or asserting their authority, saying at some point we're shutting you down. Like, you cannot go do this. At some point, we obviously in USA basketball is important, but the job of the Philadelphia 76ers front office is to look after the Philadelphia 76ers. At some point, they have to protect their own interests and their own risks. And in this case, Joel Embiid's injury status, that's a big risk to them. Losing their MVP is a big risk.
Yeah, you're 1,000% right. I disagree with nothing that you said there. You hit everything on the hammer.
So let me share a comment. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You want to say something final, or?
No, I was just gonna say, I agree with like pretty much both perspectives. Like, as an organization, you have the right when you're signing big contracts to protect your assets, and like if that comes at the cost of maybe having a tough conversation about playing in the Olympics or not. I think it's up to both sides to kind of come to that conclusion. Like, hey, maybe this isn't in the best interest. Maybe we have to skip out this time. But I do also see the other hand where it's like everybody knows like what Olympics is. Like we know when it comes to that time. Like I'll even use KD as an example. Like KD's a pure hooper. We can't ignore the fact about the injuries he had last season with the Suns. Like going into that summer, with US, that's a risk as well. Like you lose KD. I mean, we've seen what happens when they lost KD a couple games this season. The Suns went downhill. Like it's huge. So I think everything.
The Warriors?
Yeah, exactly.
The Warriors in the playoffs. He went down and Clay went down almost simultaneously.
Yeah, and it's just like when you have those type of factors. Like, yeah, I think in general it's always a risk. But like you said, when you have injury-prone players as well, it definitely is a little bit harder of a decision to make. So I agree with your concerns as well.
Yeah, be sure to comment down below, everybody who's listening right now. Where do you stand on this debate? Do you think it should be more in the players' hands to make their own decision? The front offices kind of should respect that, or should there be more of a back and forth between the two parties, or should it really ultimately be in the front office's hands to shut down these injury-prone players when it comes to playing summer basketball, FIBA, Olympics, all that good stuff? So be sure to comment that down below, or obviously if you're in the live chat, obviously drop in, state your thoughts, even as we move on to our next topic, which is
actually, Max, I'm sorry. Before we bring up the next topic, I actually saw this video, and there's this guy that talks about why the NBA is losing ratings. And if you don't mind, I wanted to play it before we started our next topic, and I wanted to debate it a little bit. It's only about a 3-minute video. And I want to warn the chat, there is a few curse words in there. I'm going to try my best to mute them, but no promises. I apologize.
Earl, the FLAL chat room rated X, rated R, rated M for mature.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
We're good. All right. But just wanna cover my bases, at least on that aspect. Please let me know if anybody can't hear it. I want to make sure everybody can hear this. I skipped all the way.
I am so glad as a community we finally get to sit here and understand that coverage of the NBA is its main problem. Not 3-point shots. Not dudes being too talented. Not everybody playing.
I'll be honest, I can't really hear that, Omar.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was trying to signal. Give me 1 second.
Is there subtitles or anything to this video, or
is it? Can you not really hear it, or can you?
I barely hear any. Like I barely hear the audio. I can't even hear what he's saying.
Okay. I'm gonna just have to do it like this. Everybody can see that clear?
We can see it. Let's see if we can hear it.
Okay.
I am so glad as a community we finally get to sit here and understand.
There's definitely echo, but I can't tell if that's coming from him or just if that's just his video.
Does everybody else hear that echo?
I could definitely hear it, but I could hear him better.
Okay. Do I continue?
Maybe just summarize. I mean, if you've watched the video, maybe just summarize the point he's trying to make.
Yeah, I gotta go back in it. I gotta go back in it. You guys can take control. Give me a moment to just review the video, and then I'll get back to y'all.
Sure. Well, while Omar's doing that, I guess we can have our resident Lakers fan just talk a little bit about the Los Angeles Lakers and their recent success. Obviously, we're streaming this live in the playoff LAL room, so a lot of Laker fans in here. I'm sure you guys have heard Earl and his conglomerates talk about this game ad nauseum. But Earl, here's your 2 minutes of fame. You can heap some praise on your Lakers here for ending the Denver Nuggets. Was it a 7-game win streak or a 9-game win streak?
I think it was 9 or 10, if I'm not mistaken. You muted yourself, by the way.
My mistake.
Probably. Okay. Omar was muting me. Probably 9.
Yeah, honestly, like I try not to let the highs get too high and the lows too low, but like being the Nuggets for us, it was like a big accomplishment. Like that's one of the biggest teams that we struggle competing against. I think in the Darvin Ham era, we talked about it before. Like this is why, like I understand, like people don't want to give JJ credit, but credit is due. Like JJ Redick has cooked up a lot of different defensive schemes, which wasn't talked about a lot compared to what we faced in the Darvin Ham era. But like his goal was, hey, let's just throw bodies at Jokic, which we all known this. Lakers fans, we knew, okay, that's the way you stop Jokic. You throw different bodies at him, you make him uncomfortable. You take away his options. That's what JJ Redick did. He threw Vando at him, he threw DFS at him, he threw Braun at him, he threw Rui at him. Even Jackson Hayes, like, he had a good stop on him. He wasn't the main defender, but we just threw different looks at him. Like, we just threw a combination of size. So I think that was huge. And shout out to Omar, who got cooked on the timeline, going band for band with Lakers fans. But in the last 15, exactly, yeah, you know, we got receipts. But the last 15 games, the Lakers are number 1 in defensive rating, and it's not a surprise. Like, I think the best example is this. Like, no, this is not saying AD was a bad defender. That's not at all the case, because he's a top 5 defender in the NBA. It's just really everybody has to step up now. Like, there's no AD's got our back, or AD's got the extra board, or AD has to help off the switch. Everybody has to be locked in every single play. Like, we've seen Rui step up on defense, DFS. Obviously, Vando is back and healthy, which is a huge part of things. We see LeBron James playing defense. And if you watch the game, you've seen Luka playing defense. He had a block. I think he had like 3 steals or something like that as well. He was in the lanes playing aggressive. And like, when we play team defense, we're a great team. It's a hard team to stop. So I think that's the biggest thing. Take away from the Nuggets. Defense definitely won us that game, but obviously Luka as well. I seen a crazy take somebody put under my comments, and I quote, Luka will not score 20 plus points in a game playing with LeBron James because they can't close together. That was the most insane take I've ever seen in NBA Twitter personally. Like, saying that they wouldn't work together. Like, we have two peer playmakers playing on the court together who can both score at a high level. I don't know. But yeah, shout out to Luka. He had a good game. 32 points, like 7 rebounds, 10 assists or something like that. So yeah, I think things are kind of turning normal. Obviously tonight is a huge game. We play the Mavericks. I'm expecting a big game because he is playing his former team. It's not going to be the full experience that it's going to be compared to the second game, because obviously this is a home game for us. But when we go back to Dallas, it's going to be a crazy game. But yeah, that's kind of like what's been happening in Lakers land. We've been playing good basketball. I think we're 12-3 in our last 15. And I think we're going to continue to rise up in the standing. So yeah.
All right. So I come back bearing fruit. Basically, the video is talking about how, well, he's basically blaming like the people in the media. He's basically blaming the players, the player media, the players that are in the media. People like Kendrick Perkins, people like, believe it or not, Shaquille O'Neal, people like Chuck, people like Kenny. We're not going to discuss Ernie. Ernie's a legend. But
facts.
What I'm trying to say, what he was trying to essentially say was, we cannot get a fair, unbiased NBA take from any of these older head generation players. For example, how long did it take for Shaquille O'Neal to get JaVale McGee's name out of his mouth? Another example, we see to this day that a lot of these announcers and a lot of these player announcers are, I don't want to say that, but like, not taking shit on these players, but like they're hating on these players. They don't like them because they think they're better than them. It's a, what's the word? It's a superiority complex. It's a, I'm older than you complex, so I have to be better than you. Clearly. So essentially, I wanted to discuss that because I happen to agree. I think a lot of these older players tend to hate on these younger generation guys and love to talk about everything wrong with the game nowadays. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think?
I will say, I think it's a two-way street. I don't think it's necessarily just old players hating on the new players, although I'm not going to sit here and act like that doesn't happen. I think it's also equal parts. A lot of times there are not even just older players, just media people, announcers, analysts, who just seem to who will refuse to admit when players do something wrong. I think a lot of modern announcers, it's kind of you're either one way or the other. It's like on some players, you pick apart every single small fault they have, but for other guys, you just refuse to say that they do anything wrong. They're perfect, they're amazing, they're great, they're infallible, they never make a mistake. Because how many times do you watch even a national broadcast, which is supposed to be pretty unbiased, and you hear, I'm not going to name names, but you hear one announcer, absolutely saying so-and-so is best player in the league, best passer all time, great, absolutely the greatest standstill shooter we've ever seen. Even when they make a mistake, it's like, oh, that's just a rookie mistake, even though the guy's like in his 5th year. I feel like it goes both ways. It feels like there's just no such thing as treating a player fairly anymore. There's no such thing as just looking at a player, praising him when he plays well, critiquing him when he doesn't. Everything either has to be on one end of that extreme. Most people seem to be on one end of that extreme. And I mean, it's like Omar said, there's no unbiased takes anymore. It feels like there's few analysts or people in the media who strictly just look at things from a basketball sense. It feels like there's 100%. Always either a narrative of this player is awful and the whole world needs to know it, or everything is great. We love the NBA. Every NBA player is great and so perfect and wonderful, and we need everyone to know that so they'll like our league. I think both sides of that hurt the league's image equally, because on the one hand, it just looks like a bunch of haters. On the other hand, it just looks like a bunch of glazers. At the end of the day, I don't think either of them do the game much good.
Yeah, honestly, I think the whole TNT crew, besides Ernie, cooked. They're washed. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, bro. I hate watching TNT because all they do, first of all, they don't watch basketball. Mm-mm. They even admit it on live TV, like, oh yeah, I was watching wrestling or I was watching WWE or stuff. I don't watch the game. Why would I watch this game? And then they go on live right after, talk about stuff they haven't watched, and they react to clips and moments out of a game and talk trash about players that they don't respect. I think that's the biggest thing as well, especially Chuck. I'm sorry, bro. I just can't watch any Chuck content at all. Nowadays, he completely trashes on the Lakers. Even if we get a good win, he'll be like, "Oh, they're still not. They're pretenders. They're not contenders. They're not even a good team. Blah 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 blah. They're not good at defense." Well, Chuck, we're the number one defense in the last 15 games. You want to talk about recently? That's what we're doing. Oh, Luka's not going to fit with LeBron James. Luka and LeBron James have some of the best chemistry I've seen out of a duo, and they've only been playing together for 2 weeks. I mean, when Luka gets the ball, LeBron can play off ball. He's getting easy lobs, scoring opportunities easy. Like, it's so crazy. Like, Luka threw a pass to LeBron in the corner, and Bron, I mean, credit to Bron for shooting it, but he's not used to being that open. I mean, he bricked it. Not because he's not good. It's because for the first time, he's playing with a player with the same level of passing or even better than him. And he's not used to getting the pass like that. Like, we joke about LeBron, like, throwing bullet passes to people. Well, Bron's missed a couple Luka passes because he's not used to that type of stuff. And that's what happens when you get a top player on your team. But just Lakers aside, I just feel like it's a lot of hating. Like, even the Shaq thing, like, he still talks about Dwight Howard and the Superman name. Like, we don't care, bro.
We don't care.
Start Superman. You didn't start the comic Superman. Like, it's not your thing. I understand.
Such a stupid argument.
On that, like, it was a part of your career, a nice little alter ego. But, like, come on, bro. You can't have hate for a dude because he used a Superman name and he was a great defender. Like, you can't just completely trash his whole career every time you get on TV. Like, I think it's so immature and it's so dumb. And TNT, 100%. I'm sorry, like, it's just become like a roast session every single night. I don't want to sit there. Like, why would fans want to watch the game or respect the game if all they do is talk about how trash the game is now? Like, I get it. I agree with Max. Like, the job for them is not to praise every play. It's not to praise every player, but at least be fair in your, like, objective responses to each person. Like, just keep the standard the same. Like Max said, like, if somebody don't just say, oh, like, he can't do any wrong. Like, I don't want to throw a particular player out there because I don't want to throw any names. You know what? Whatever. I'll just say like a Steph Curry. Oh, Steph Curry, he can't do any wrong. Oh, he shot 5 for 15. Oh, it's the other's fault. They got to be better. Like, I just think that type of reporting and, like, turning on the game, like, I agree with Omar. I agree with the dude from the video. The media is a big reason why people don't want to watch the games. Like, I can't remember the last time I sat through a whole TNT interview. I can't anymore. Like, at halftime, I turn it off. I can't watch it. It's not fun. Like, I appreciate what they did. They were trailblazers in the game for sports media in the past, but now it's just become, it's really equivalent to Hater Central on X. I'm sorry.
Can I come in here and defend NBA on TNT? Can I offer a counter argument for that?
Go ahead.
Listen, this is coming from someone who the NBA on TNT crew also does not very much like the Knicks. They definitely don't like the Lakers. They also very much do not like the Knicks for the most part. Charles Barkley.
They do not. They do not. The only one that likes them is
Kenny.
Kendrick Perkins, and even he is iffy just because of the way he covers.
I'm just talking about the NBA on TNT crew. I'm just talking about the NBA on TNT crew specifically.
Okay.
Earl, you pointed out that what they say about the Lakers. They have definitely had their Knicks hate over the years, but as a Knicks fan, I don't mind it whatsoever. And I'll be honest,
really?
I don't mind really I don't take what they say. It's not a basketball show. I look at NBA on TNT as just kind of SNL, but the NBA's version. If you're going to them for straight up like basketball analysis and like deep dives and, analyzing.
You're not in the right place.
And I don't think that's what they try to sell themselves as. I don't think that's what they've tried to be in the past. I don't think they pretend that they are this insane X's and O's deep dive. They are, like Earl said, it's just kind of a chill roast session. They're honest when they say they don't watch the games. They react to stuff live. Their bias shows through. To be honest, I feel like, at least to me, it is kind of refreshing. It's like, I hate to say that they don't try, but they don't try and sit there and put their thinking caps on. It's just kind of unfiltered. It reminds me of just watching games, kind of like what, we do here in Playoff LAL. It reminds me of just sitting back and watching games with your friends, watching games with your uncles. Sure, they're going to spew some nonsense. There's going to be, some hot takes. There's going to be some jokes. To me, I don't mind that. I'm way more likely to sit down and watch a clip from inside the NBA than I am from First Take or Undisputed or any of those other shows that pretend to be analytic, but they're not. At least NBA on TNT and that crew knows what they are, and they wear that badge proudly and they lean into it. So for me, I don't mind that as much. When I'm trying to actually, my basketball experience is impacted more by the announcers who are calling the game. That will upset me more when those announcers are being biased or hating or glazing for no reason versus, the team outside the game. That for me is just kind of like a fun, chill, relax. Like, I'm not watching the halftime show for analysis. I'm watching just to see what they drop on Charles Barkley's head. I'll be honest. And I enjoy it. Maybe I'm a simpleton for that. And just one more thing I'll throw out here. I think, Earl's right. The fact that the media does have a big part to play in terms of getting people to watch the NBA and buy into the product. But a lot of the people who are even going out and watching shows like First Take, Undisputed, like basketball shows outside the game, a lot of these people are diehard NBA fans anyways and are going to watch regardless. I don't think there's a lot of casuals who tune into these shows, hear what these people have to say, and then just tune out of the NBA. I feel like if you're a casual, you're probably not going and watching an hour and a half of TNT postgame at 1:30 in the morning. That's only for the diehards. So while I do think that, I do agree with what the video says, which is that the NBA media has to do a better job of being unbiased and giving fair takes. I do agree with that by and large, but I don't think that's necessarily hurting the viewership as much as other things because let's be real, we're going to watch that because we're diehard NBA fans. If you're a casual, you might not even watch a full game. You're just tuning in for the second half of Lakers versus Nuggets, maybe even just the last quarter. You're just going to watch that and turn it off. You have no clue what, Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith or Kendrick Perkins or Bob Myers said on the pregame show because you're not watching the pregame show. We're watching it because that's who we are. So obviously they have a role to play, but I think if the NBA wants to really look at why they're losing such ratings, I don't think you can point to the casual audience being turned off by media that they probably don't even watch, if we're being honest.
I agree with literally 98% of what you said. But my thing is, it literally is the casual thing to watch. Nobody is going to go out their way to go search out First Take and all those shows. They're going to watch what's presented to them in front of them at a basketball game. They turn on the TV to watch a basketball game. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be watching a little bit early. So probably the first 10 minutes of pregame and a little bit after the game and halftime because it's all baked in together. So my point is I love what TNT is as far as the fun, messing with Chuck and stuff like that. The only problem I have with those guys is when they completely like trash players and they don't hold that same standard to other guys. Like that's my biggest thing as well. Because these are especially the legends. Shaq. Like these are legends, NBA legends up here talking about the game. If they're saying, "Oh, the game is trash, the game is boring," this version of the game is just not a great product. Like it's hard. Like people are going to take that word for it. They have a say in the world for like different casual people watching. Oh, if Shaq's saying this. Shaq's saying this. He played in the Lakers when I was watching basketball back in my day or younger. Like Shaq, that should kill O'Neal. Or oh, that's Chuck, Hall of Famer. Like these guys are Hall of Famers. So if they're talking about the game in a bad way, like of course it's not going to affect like us, like the NBA fans watching. But we're talking about particularly bringing in new audiences and stuff like that. Like that's the first impression of what they're going to hear about the game. So that's my only problem. Like I don't have a problem with them having fun because I'm not going to act like I haven't had good laughs throughout TNT shows because that's what it is. Yeah. It's always a good vibe. I love that. But I do also agree with your point that like in-game announcers are horrible as well at times. Like the bias in those as well. Like sometimes I turn on national broadcast game and it feels like I'm on like just throw the random names like Jazz Network or something like that, even though there's no Jazz fans. Like they clearly
Jazz fans is insane.
I'm sorry. That was a crazy shot.
That was crazy.
That was a crazy shot, my bad. But like even like that Nuggets Lakers game, like literally it was all Nuggets like on the broadcast. It was so crazy. Yeah. They're like, that was okay shot. Oh, Jokic with the spin back to back behind the back dribble Jazz. I'm like, bro, I get it. It's cool, but like
LaMelo,
like, those type of things, like if we wanted to watch it like that, we would just go watch like Lakers Nation or something like the Lakers specific broadcast. I agree with you on that part, Max.
Yeah, I mean they do also kind of get paid to hype up the home team. Like for example, during Knicks games, Monica McNutt is definitely there to hype the Knicks. Like there's no other reason than for her to be there. To be completely honest.
Well, but that's for local broadcast. That's for when you are broadcasting on MSG Network or Lakers Sports, LA, Los Angeles Sports Network, Boston Sports Network. But most
of the time she's doing ESPN.
I do think there are.
She does occasional stuff.
We're more still talking about like in-game, like live commentating, basically. Like the duration of the whole game, like Ashley on the mic breaking down play-by-plays.
She has done that, and I think for the few commentators who do go back and forth between mostly local, but once in a while they'll do an ESPN or a TNT game. They definitely have a button that or at least they should have a button that they kind of press when they're broadcasting to 90% local fans, and their job is more to hype the team up versus broadcasting to a national audience that's going to be more divided. I have no problem with there being bias on a local broadcast, but when you step it up to a national level, I think the good announcers are the ones who are able to kind of separate themselves and realize that it's a split fan base. And in my mind, the announcers that are actually calling the game and like Earl said, or like Omar said, being on breaking down play-by-play live, to me those have more of an impact. In my mind, I think those would have more of an impact on the ratings than the guys in the pre and post game. I mean, I agree with you, Earl. Like, if you're a casual, you might turn on, you might catch the last 10 minutes of pregame. You might stay for the halftime. But I mean, I think if you ask a true casual NBA fan, someone who only knows a handful of players, only the top names in the biggest teams, they couldn't talk about the Charlotte Hornets or the Toronto Raptors like we can. If you ask one of those people what Kendrick Perkins' thoughts on the Knicks are or what Charles Barkley's thoughts on the Lakers are, I don't think they could tell you. I'll be honest. But I'll bet you could tell them, hey, which announcers do you like listening to when you watch a game? Who do you hope is calling a game that you watch on national TV? I'll bet they could pick those names out way easier than like, which of the media pundits, on pre-games typically votes, typically likes your team or doesn't like your team. In my mind, that's a little bit more of the correlation to the casual fans for me, but
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And just to recap everything you guys just said, like, it's really hard to really kind of like accept that because these are legends and you really don't want to think that like these legends are just not appreciating this current generation that the way it is. So for that reason, it's just like really sad to see all of this because it's just now that somebody has kind of put it in my eyes and now that I see it from this certain lens, I can't unsee it. And it's kind of one of those things where now that you see it, you cannot possibly unsee it anymore. Every time you look at it, you're going to look at that. And unfortunately, and I feel like that's why the NBA kind of, you know what, actually, that doesn't make much sense. Then the NBA should kind of switch its position then, because I feel like last season they went and the ESPN and certain companies went and kind of let go a lot of these personalities that weren't directly connected to the NBA. So I feel like they should kind of do a little reverse job and see what happens there. But it should have went the other way around. I feel like they should have pushed out a lot of those older players. But
yeah, I would absolutely have no problem with the NBA trying to go more the route of traditional journalists and kind of sports fans who are journalists who don't come from a team. They're not former players. I definitely agree with that we almost have a problem with too many kind of former players now. It feels like guys just kind of get in the booth or on podcasts or promoted for just kind of who they were as players and not necessarily what they bring to an analyst role or a reporting role. I think going from, I'm biased. I'm a journalist minor in college. I'm fully biased, but going a more traditional route of sports journalists who kind of grew up around the game, interviewing players, analyzing the game, talking about the game, putting the mics in front of those guys versus just big name former players, I do think by and large would be an improvement for the product. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then kind of to end it off, I'll say this, that's why I love this platform so much, Playback, because it gives a chance for people to watch these games and get the fans' perspective. Because at the end of the day, the game is really about the fans. We watch the games, we pay for tickets, we buy league pass, we buy jerseys, we buy merchandise. It's a game built for the fans. I get the players are playing as well, but at some point you do have to cater to those audiences too. So that's why I love doing this. We can talk on our perspectives. Obviously, we haven't played basketball, NBA related. We're not directly connected with the league, but we still have we still have our own knowledge to bring to the game. So I'll say that. I think it would be refreshing. Maybe the NBA tries something new like that. Adding, not saying us, but hey, you never know. But having just the alternate type broadcast one day with maybe fans kind of running some part of the show as well, alongside NBA legends, or just having separate shows like that just to show different perspectives. But keep that in mind, NBA. If you want to talk about a collaboration, let me know. My email is in my X account as well. At Playoff Earl.
Playoff Earl. Playoff LAL, huh? But how much time do we have left? Do we only have a minute left?
Yeah, I think that was about it. I think that took us basically to the end of the episode. Anything else you guys want to throw in here before we wrap up?
A quick little thing. The Knicks suck. The Knicks suck.
He says wearing his Knicks shirt or hoodie. Sorry.
I will always love and respect this team, but we suck, and we need to do something about it now, because the way that we play defense is not on any type of exceptional level. And Tom Thibodeau, the fact that this is even coming from a Tom Thibodeau team is really concerning. How much is he letting the leash go here? And that's really saying something, because he plays this guy 40 minutes a night. But what are we doing? It just feels like we're moving backwards. Last year we had one of the best defensive identities in the league. And I get some of that has to do with the fact that Mitchell Robinson has been out. Like that's obviously going to affect our pick and roll defense. He's one of the best pick and roll defenders that in the game. And then on top of the fact even Dante DiVincenzo, Quentin Grimes, these guys were key defensive pieces that we lost. And now we're kind of in a situation where we have no bench, we have a ton of money, and we can't really let go of it. So we're in a bad spot. We're in a really bad spot. We overspent for Mikal
as a third seed in the NBA, but
I mean, dude. Okay, but we're also 0-7 against contenders. Like it doesn't like. What did we do? We got Mikal Bridges and we got worse. Like, I'm not blaming it on Mikal Bridges because Mikal Bridges, like, whatever. You're going to have your nights where you score 25, and then you're going to have your nights where you score 14, 15. Like, that's what you expect out of a third or fourth option. But the main reason we brought him along was because of his, like, really good perimeter defense. Where is it?
I know.
Where is it?
Omar's in Dulceville now.
Where is it? Like,
in Doomland down there.
It's just like it's really surprising, and I don't know if these guys are starting to like. I don't think if I think OG and Mikal are starting to focus on more in the interior because Cat, as good as Cat is on defense, he gets blown by on defense by almost every single person. Like, I think they have to divert their attention down there to help Cat, which leaves us open on the perimeter. So, in my eyes, do I feel like Mitchell Robinson will come back and eventually make our defense better? Of course. But I also am very cautious if I am the Knicks, because now I have to look at my roster. And now I have to look at like one of my one of the best offensive teams in the league. Now I have to go back and say I have to take one of these starters out, and it's going to have to be Mikal or it's going to have to be Josh. I'm leaning towards Mikal. I'm leaning towards
off the bench is crazy after giving up.
Think about it. Why not? Why not?
Not to dive too deep into this now, we will, I believe, have a 2-minute drill episode coming out later in the week about this.
Come on!
I'll say I do actually agree with that take Omar threw in at the end about Mikal Bridges coming off the bench.
I think he could run the second unit. Like, that could be perfect for him. Him and Deuce Precious. I would love it. I would love it.
We'll talk more about that and other Knicks-related things on our 2-minute drill episode later this week. But I think that is going to do it for this episode of the Beyond the Backboard podcast, live in the playoff LAL room on playback. Obviously, we want to thank this playoff LAL room, which is now over 1,000 members. Congratulations for that.
Woo-hoo! Thank you so much.
Members for having us in here. It's wonderful to be able to stream in here and interact with some viewers live. If you guys are in the YouTube and you enjoyed this podcast, again, please like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. It does help us out a lot. Come join us in the live rooms. We're here on playback Tuesday afternoons and Friday afternoons for our playback exclusive weekend game previews. So check those out. Again, we're putting clips out. Like those up. It'll help us out. We very much appreciate everyone sticking with us to the end of this episode and hope you all have a good week. We'll be back same time, same place for episode 76 or 77, whatever it'll be.
And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure to follow the Twitter, and make sure you stay safe and awesome and amazing. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Peace.
Peace.